This is Max and Mia podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Max and Mia podcast. Really glad to have you here with us today.
Hey, everyone. Good to see you all again. And if this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope this becomes one of your regular stops.
Honestly, the fact that people keep coming back means a lot. We put a good amount of thought into each episode, so knowing it actually reaches you, yeah, it matters.
It really does. We read your comments, by the way, more than people probably think we do.
Way more.
Anyway, today is a bit of a different setup, which I think you are going to like.
Right, so we are stepping back a little this episode. We have two guests who are going to take things from here and lead the whole conversation. Matthew and Rachel are joining us today, and they have got a lot to cover, so we did not want to take up too much of their time.
Exactly. We will let them take it from here. Matthew, Rachel, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Max. Thank you, Mia. Really appreciate you having us. And hello to everyone listening, wherever you are joining from today.
Hi, everyone. It is great to be here. And honestly, we've been looking forward to this for a while, so we're happy to finally get into it.
So, Rachel, let me start with something simple, or at least something that sounds simple. When you hear the word technology, what is the first thing that comes to mind?
Honestly, a smartphone. Maybe a laptop, something with a screen.
Exactly. And I think that's most people's instinct. You say technology, and people immediately picture something futuristic, something electric, something expensive.
But here's the thing, and this is actually what we want to talk about today. That image of technology, it's way more limited than the word actually means.
Much more. If we look at the basic definition of technology, it isn't just about microchips or electricity. At its core, it simply means using human knowledge to create tools and solve problems. That is it.
Which means a wheel is technology. Writing is technology. A clay pot that someone made 5,000 years ago? Also technology.
Exactly. It's not that screens and Wi-Fi aren't technology. Of course they are. But the concept is so much bigger than that. It is about human beings solving problems using whatever tools and knowledge were available to them at any given point in time.
Right, which means every single era in human history had its own version of high tech. For the ancient Romans, aqueducts were cutting edge. For people in the 19th century, the steam engine changed the world.
And because our daily lives have always been completely shaped by these different technological leaps, it makes you look at the past in a totally different way.
Exactly. Every era has its own fascinating breakthroughs, and it really makes you wonder what it would be like to experience those moments firsthand.
Which brings us to the big question for today's episode. If you could go back and live in any period of human history, when would you choose?
We are passing this question to you, the listeners. Would you pick ancient Egypt, the Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution, or maybe just the 90s? Drop your answers in the comments below. We genuinely want to read them.
Now, for us, Rachel, you go first.
Okay, so I would pick the early 2000s, and hear me out. The internet already existed, social media was just starting, but it was also light. You had a Facebook page, maybe a blog, and that was kind of it. It did not run your life.
It was not inside your head 24 hours a day.
Exactly. There was still this sense of logging off and just being present somewhere. That balance felt really special, and honestly, I do not think we appreciated it at the time.
For me, it is different. I would go back even further, way before all of that, before the internet, before mobile phones, back when the worst punishment your parents could give you was not letting you go outside to play.
Max said the exact same thing earlier, by the way.
Because it is true. And look, I want to be clear. I am not saying life was better in every sense. Access to information was limited, medicine was not as advanced, communication was slow. But there was something about the pace of it all,
the simplicity.
And I respect that. I really do. I just think I need a little of both. I want to be able to look something up when I'm curious. I just do not need an algorithm deciding what I think about while I eat breakfast.
That is a fair point. And actually, let us pause there for a second on that word, algorithm. You will hear this constantly in English, especially in conversations about technology and social media. In this context, an algorithm is basically a set of rules that a platform uses to decide what content to show you based on your behavior and your preferences. It's why your feed looks completely different from your friends, even if you follow the same accounts.
And algorithms are actually a perfect example of something we want to explore today, because technology has genuinely improved life in so many areas. Healthcare, global communication, education. I mean, the fact that someone right now is improving their English by listening to a podcast, that is kind of remarkable when you think about it.
It really is, and for those of you who are not too young, and we say that with full respect, by the way,
With love.
do you remember what the world looked like before all of this? Before you could search for anything in seconds? Before GPS? Before streaming? Before video calling someone on the other side of the world for free?
I remember having to ask strangers for directions, like stopping someone on the street and hoping they actually knew where they were going.
I remember going to a physical encyclopedia to research a school project, an actual book that took up half a shelf, and you had to hope the information was still accurate because that book was probably printed 5 years earlier.
And somehow we managed. But what is easy to forget is how much mental energy went into things that are now completely automatic. Finding a phone number, looking up a word, getting from point A to point B without getting lost 3 times first.
So yes, technology has changed a lot, and in many ways it has made life genuinely easier. But it has also changed the way we relate to each other, the way we think, the way we spend our time. And that part is a little more complicated.
Which brings us to the bigger question. Given everything that has already changed, what do you think comes next? How do you picture the world in 30, 50 years? Better? Worse? Something we can't even imagine yet?
It's worth sitting with, but before we get into that, we have something for you.
All right, so here is the thing. When we start talking about the future, a lot of people tend to fall into the same patterns. I think, I believe, maybe, perhaps, and those are fine. Nothing wrong with them. But English has some really useful expressions that let you talk about things that have not happened yet in a way that sounds much more natural and varied.
And since we're about to get into a whole conversation about what the future might look like, this feels like the perfect moment to go through them. So let us break down 4 expressions that we're going to be using from this point forward in the episode.
The first one is, it is bound to happen. When you say something is bound to happen, you're saying you're pretty much certain it will. Not maybe, not possibly. You're expressing strong confidence that something is coming.
For example, artificial intelligence is bound to change the job market completely. You're not guessing. You're saying, this is coming. It's just a matter of when.
The second expression is in the long run. This one is really common and really useful. It means over a long period of time, when you look at the big picture rather than just right now.
So you might say, electric cars might be expensive today, but in the long run, they'll probably save people a lot of money. You're shifting the focus from the present moment to the broader timeline.
The third one is to look forward to. This is one of those expressions that sounds simple but trips a lot of people up because of the grammar. You look forward to something, meaning you're excited or hopeful about it. And importantly, when you follow it with a verb, that verb takes the ing form.
So, I look forward to seeing a world where clean energy is the norm. Not, I look forward to see. The ing is key there.
And the last one is to bring about. To bring something about means to cause a change or make something happen, usually something significant. It is often used when talking about big shifts, big transformations.
Like, New medical technologies will bring about a longer life expectancy for most people. It carries a sense of weight, of something meaningful being set in motion.
So, to quickly recap, it is bound to happen, for a strong certainty, in the long run, when you're thinking about the big picture over time, to look forward to, for things you hope or expect with excitement, and to bring about when something causes a major change.
And we are not just teaching these in isolation. You're going to hear all four of them come up naturally as we keep talking. So pay attention and see if you can catch them.
All right, now back to the question. The future. How do you think technology is going to shape the world from here?
Okay, so where do we even start? Because honestly, you could talk about this for hours.
You really could, but let us try to keep it focused. I think there are three areas in particular where the changes are going to be massive, and where most people probably haven't thought deeply about what's actually coming.
Let's start with cities and transportation, because I think this is the one that's going to hit people the hardest in their daily lives. Like the way we move around is about to look completely different.
And it's already shifting. We're seeing electric vehicles becoming more accessible, public transit systems getting smarter, and a growing conversation around what's called urban planning, which, just to clarify, refers to the way cities are designed and organized, the layout of streets, buildings, green spaces, all of it.
Right. And for a long time, cities were basically built around the car. Everything was designed assuming that people would drive. But that model is bound to change, and in a lot of places it already is.
Cities like Amsterdam or Copenhagen are leading this shift toward what people call 15-minute cities, the idea being that everything you need, your job, your school, your grocery store, should be reachable within 15 minutes on foot or by bike.
Which sounds almost too simple, but in the long run, that kind of design could completely transform people's quality of life. Less time commuting, less pollution, more time for actual living.
And then there's autonomous transport, self-driving vehicles, which, depending on where you live, might still sound like science fiction, but it is already being tested in several cities around the world. I look forward to a point where public transport is so reliable and so well connected that owning a car becomes optional for most people.
That would be something. Okay, second area, and this one's a little more personal. Healthcare.
Yes, and I think this is where technology is genuinely going to bring about some of the most meaningful changes in human history. Not in a dramatic, cinematic way, but quietly, steadily.
Think about what is already happening. Wearable devices that track your heart rate, your sleep, your stress levels. Early detection tools for diseases that used to go unnoticed until it was too late. And the growing use of artificial intelligence to analyze medical data far faster than any human doctor could.
And here's the thing, a lot of these advancements are not just helping people live longer, they're helping people live better. There's a word worth knowing here, preventive care. As opposed to treating illness after it appears, preventive care focuses on stopping it before it starts, and technology is making that much more achievable.
Which, in the long run, could completely shift how we think about medicine, from something you only deal with when something goes wrong, to something that is just part of how you take care of yourself every day.
Exactly. And the third area is one that I think does not get enough attention in these conversations, education.
Oh, this one is huge.
It is, because right now, access to quality education is still very unequal, depending on where you're born, what language you speak, how much money your family has. But technology is steadily chipping away at those barriers.
We're already seeing it. Free online courses from top universities, language learning apps, podcasts like this one that bring content to people who would never have had access to it otherwise. And that's only going to grow.
It is bound to reach a point where a student in a small town with a decent internet connection has access to essentially the same knowledge as someone sitting in a classroom at a prestigious university.
Which is a pretty radical idea when you think about how education has worked for most of human history.
And I genuinely look forward to that, not just as an educator, but as someone who grew up in a place where your options were very much tied to your geography.
Same. And I think what ties all three of these together,
cities, healthcare, education, is this idea that technology, when it is developed thoughtfully, has the potential to make opportunity more evenly distributed, to close gaps rather than widen them.
Although, to be fair, that is not automatic. Technology can also deepen inequality if it is not made accessible to everyone. So the question is not just what technology can do, but who gets to benefit from it. And that is a conversation for another episode.
Noted. We will put that on the list.
Ha! Okay, so before we wrap up today, we want to leave you with something practical, because we know a lot of you are here not just to think about technology, but to grow your English. And we have a few thoughts on that too.
We are going to share some tips for listeners who are at a basic level and want to move towards something more comfortable and confident, which, by the way, is exactly the kind of progress this podcast is designed to support.
All right. So one of the most common signs that someone is at an early stage in English is the way they talk about the future. And look, there is nothing wrong with it. It is a natural part of the process. But if you want to sound more fluent and more precise, there is one habit worth breaking sooner rather than later.
And that is reaching for will every single time you talk about something that has not happened yet.
Exactly. Will is not wrong. It's a perfectly valid word. But when it's the only tool you use, your English starts to sound a little flat, a little repetitive. And more importantly, you lose the ability to express something really important, how certain you actually are about what you're saying.
Because not all future statements carry the same level of confidence, right? There's a big difference between something you're almost sure about and something you think might happen but are not really sure of.
So let's look at how to express that difference. First, when you're fairly certain about something, a lot of learners would say, for example, I think people will live 100 years, which is clear, but listen to how much more weight this carries. People are highly likely to live past 100, or even, people are set to live significantly longer within the century.
You're saying the same thing, but the second version sounds more confident, more grounded, like you have actually thought about it.
Other phrases that work really well for high certainty is expected to, is likely to, is set to. All of these give your statement more texture than a simple will.
Now, the flip side, when you're not so sure, when there's doubt involved, a lot of learners would say maybe the climate will change, which again, totally fine, but consider this instead. Climate change might force us to adapt our cities completely, or there is a real chance that rising temperatures could reshape how we live.
You're not just saying maybe something will happen. You're showing the listener that you understand the nuance, that you're weighing possibilities, not just making a guess.
And some useful phrases for expressing doubt or uncertainty: might, could, there's a chance that, it is possible that, it remains to be seen whether. These are all incredibly common in natural English conversation.
So, to put it simply, when you're confident, swap will for is likely to, is expected to, is set to. When you're uncertain, swap maybe will for might, could, or there's a chance that.
And the real goal here is not to avoid will completely. It's to have more options, to be able to choose the right level of certainty for what you actually mean. That's what fluency really looks like.
Exactly. It's not about using complicated words, it's about being precise. And precision is what takes you from sounding like someone who learned English to someone who actually uses it.
Well said.
Okay, so we are getting close to the end of the episode, but we want to go out on a practical note. We are going to do a short shadowing exercise.
And just in case you're not familiar with the term, shadowing is a technique where you listen to a phrase and then repeat it, trying to match not just the words, but the rhythm, the intonation, the natural flow of how it sounds. It's one of the most effective ways to train your ear and your mouth at the same time.
So here's how this works. We're going to say a sentence. You pause. You repeat it out loud. Do not just read it in your head. Actually say it. That's the whole point.
Ready? First one. This is a phrase expressing hope and optimism. Listen carefully.
I am actually quite optimistic about where we are heading.
Now, a couple of things to notice there. The word quite. In British English especially, quite does not always mean very. It often softens the statement. Quite optimistic sounds measured, thoughtful, not over the top. And notice how quite and optimistic blend together almost without a gap. Quite optimistic, not two separate words with a pause in between. Let them connect.
Say it with us. I am actually quite optimistic about where we are heading.
Good. Now the second one. This is a phrase expressing doubt, and this one has a really important word to focus on.
I highly doubt that is going to work out.
The key here is highly doubt. A lot of people soften their doubt without realizing it. They say, I kind of doubt it, or I'm not really sure. But highly doubt is much stronger, it's firm. And to make it land, you want to put a little more weight on highly. Not shout it, just lean into it slightly. I highly doubt that is going to work out.
Try it. I highly doubt that is going to work out.
Great. Now, before we close out, we want to give you a handful of words that come up a lot when talking about technology and the future, and that tend to be tricky to pronounce even at an intermediate level. So listen, repeat, and take note.
First one. Autonomous, as in self-driving, independent, operating on its own. Say it slowly. Mus. The stress falls on the second syllable, autonomous.
Second, surveillance. This one catches a lot of people off guard. It is not surveillance, it is surveillance. 2 syllables in the middle, not 3. Surveillance.
Third, infrastructure. This is the system of basic facilities that keeps a society running. Roads, energy, water, internet networks. The stress here is on the third syllable, infrastructure. Infrastructure.
And the last one, inequality. The gap between people in terms of wealth, access, opportunity. 5 syllables, inequality. The stress lands on the third, inequality.
Say each one a couple of times on your own after this. Autonomous, surveillance, infrastructure, inequality. Get comfortable with them because they come up constantly in serious conversations about technology, society, and the future.
All right, we are almost done. But before we let you go, if you got something out of today's episode, whether it was the conversation, the vocabulary, the shadowing, any of it, the best thing you can do is subscribe. It costs nothing, and it genuinely helps us reach more people who are on the same journey as you.
And if you really enjoyed it, leave us a like. It takes 2 seconds and it makes a bigger difference than most people realize. These small things are what allow us to keep making content like this.
And do not forget to drop your answer in the comments. We asked you 2 questions today. Which period of history would you have chosen to live in? And how do you see the world in 50 years? We read everything, and we actually respond.
We really do, so do not be shy.
That's it for today. Honestly, this one was a pleasure from start to finish.
It really was. A lot of ground covered, a lot of good things to think about, and hopefully a few new tools to take with you into your next conversation in English.
Take care of yourselves, keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye, everyone.